Hello, economic students. This is Mrs. Miller, and I'm going to go over Unit 4 with you for a review. So, hopefully, you'll be able to um, feel a little bit more confident when you're taking your test. Um, yeah, just going to get started. So, for the Unit 4 review, I'm going to start with vocabulary. There we go. I didn't want to change the first time. Some vocabulary we came upon in this unit are embargo. Embargo is when one country prohibits trade with another country for political reasons. A good example of this is how the U.S. didn't have any trade with Cuba for, God, it was like 60 years. No, that's not right. Yeah, no. It was a long time. It's probably more like, probably more like 50 years. It was in the 60s. Let me do my math. Yeah. 50 years is more accurate. Um, but the U.S. didn't do any trade with Cuba because the U.S. was upset that Cuba was working with Russia, and this is all during the Cold War. And I can go on and on about that forever because I dig the Cold War, not like living through it, but I dig studying it. But that's kind of what it means: is one country prohibits trade with another country for political reasons. And the purpose behind it is hoping that the country that's being prohibited from trade will kind of suffer a little bit and come crawling back and beg for the other country to trade with them some more and to have some political power and monetary economic power. Exports. Exports are goods that are produced in the U.S. and shipped to another country. We do this with all sorts of things. And we also import lots of things, which is two down. Imports are goods produced in another country and shipped to the U.S. Now, that's of course just from our viewpoint. An import to England would be an export from us to England, but England would be importing it. Um, so, yeah, it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Culturally, we're looking at it from our own perspective. So that's why it says U.S. in this. Externalities is a byproduct of production, and this is such as pollution. So it's an externality that happens because of production. Um, Price controls are when government puts regulations on things such as rent control or minimum wage. Some further vocabulary. We have price discrimination, and that's when a producer sells identical goods or services to different buyers at different prices. And then price setters are when a company with a new product, price setters have a company with a new product and few substitutes. Um, and actually, before I go any further, I want to go back to price discrimination right here. The one that the readings use is with a like an airline ticket. And there are really lots of reasons why airline tickets would be different prices, but it is a way to look at price discrimination when it's very simplified. So that's why we're using that example. So say you buy your ticket on Tuesday, and which is supposedly a good day to buy tickets or for flight on a Tuesday, and your ticket is $200. Well, your friend buys a ticket also on a Tuesday, but buys it when there's fewer seats on the plane and the airline realizes they can charge more, your friend's going to pay $300 or $400. So that's what we're looking at price discrimination here. There's also other ways where price discrimination can show up in a very much more racist and bigoted kind of way. But that's not really the way we're looking at it on this. So just keep that in mind, though, that there is price discrimination that's based on different bigotry. Um, and price setters, I already said that one, sorry. Price takers, a company that sells a substitute product for less money. And that would be somebody like, I'm going to go with my daughter's bias here, and she's very pro Apple. She wants an iPhone so bad, but she's not getting one because she's not even 11 yet. But she thinks that the Androids are so much less than. So, but they're a substitute for what she thinks is the best, which is the iPhone. So the price takers would be the people making Androids who make them for less money. And granted, Androids really aren't that much cheaper, but they're usually a little bit cheaper than iPhones. So that's kind of an example of that one. Hopefully, I'm helping, not hurting with my examples. Quota is when one country sets the number of a product that can be sold or imported to itself by another country. And that's just saying that we are going to put a cap on it. We're going to put a limit on how much we import from that country so that our own people and our own companies can step up production as well. We're not relying on another country for their resources and their products. Vocabulary again, some more. Regulations, rules that govern the way others behave. Tariff, that regulations are just, rules, laws, etc. Tariff is a tax on imports or exports, and that discourages fair competition, but it does encourage your own country's production of goods. So, like in the readings, one of the examples of this is the how would you limit importing of foreign cars? Well, if you put a tariff on foreign cars, then people will want to pay less money and buy an American car. So that's one way that that would work. And then with wage discrimination, and this is a big one because this is still going on to this day. I mean, women make less than men on average in most jobs, make about 75 to 85% of the amount that a man makes. And that's wage discrimination. If they're in the same position with equal training and equal education and hold the same position, then they should be making the exact same money. So, and that could be based on gender or race or religion or sexual identity. Any of those things can be part of what is discriminated against with wage discrimination. Sorry if you hear my obnoxious dogs barking in the background. And normal markets operate and adjust themselves. Adjust themselves. I'm a child. Normal markets operate and adjust all by themselves through market pressures. Then the amount supplied will eventually, and meaning that the amount supplied will eventually equal the amount demanded, and that's where we get that equilibrium price that we talked about a lot in this one. So suppose you're a producer of jeans, and you charge $10 for each pair of jeans. If the equilibrium price is 15, you'll have a higher demand on your jeans and end up having a shortage because you're selling yours for below the equilibrium price and everybody's going to grab those up. If you charge $20, you'll have an excess supply of your jeans because people know they can find them cheaper at 15. And that's generally what they're willing to pay. At $15, which is the equilibrium price, nothing is wasted and consumers have just enough goods and services. And that's really what it's the most efficient way of being, and producers have no control when it comes over prices. If producers have that excess demand, then they're going to have to make more, so then, they've got to figure all of that out. If they have an excess supply, they've got to figure out how to balance their cost of production with their charges because people aren't paying it. So they'll go out of business if they don't figure that out. Perfect competition is when there's an identical product competes for consumers and there's open entry and exit. And there's also price takers when there's perfect competition. So perfect competition, I mean, you can see that in, stores that I would say probably things like, I'm going to go back to the cell phone reference, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and what's the other one? Verizon. Those are all perfect competition. People have to do their research and figure out which is the best deal, which has the best service, all of that, to figure out what's the best for them. Monopoly, there's no competition at all. Their goal is to gain maximum profits. I'm going to fix that right now. There we go. And price is set in a monopoly where marginal cost matches marginal revenues. And resources are usually wasted because they're not used efficiently. Because monopolies really just want to have maximum profits, so they're not going to worry about efficiency. In an oligopoly, or in oligopoly, I can't speak today. Oligopoly, oligopoly. There we go. I can finally speak. Oligopoly. Oligopoly. Whoever watches this is probably just going, my teacher's insane. But I'm sorry, my tongue was totally tied. Few sellers can influence the price. Products can be identical or differentiated, such as in the steel or car markets. So there are all sorts of cars, and the products are differentiated, but they're similar. And there's really just those few people. You can't sit at home and decide I'm going to make my own car. Like, I mean, you can try, but it's going to take a long time, and all those parts have come from previous cars and from markets that are very exclusive and that you can't get into. Price controls. The pros of price controls. This is the pros, and the next one's the cons. The pros of price controls are things like minimum wage. Minimum wage guarantees more money for those with low paying jobs. And rent control makes it easier for people to afford housing. Regulations. Those things are, they help those who can't live with competitive pricing. Like on the project you guys did with when you figured out, how much you would have to pay for rent and all of that with minimum wage. Those are you can see how the regulations would help you. So the cons, minimum wage can cause job shortages and unemployment, the possibility of raising the price of goods, which they're still doing studies on that stuff. Um, Rent control can reduce the supply and quality of housing. And that's partially because there's only so many rent control apartments out there. And then the quality part is going to be that the landlords don't have the money to upgrade things and maintain things if they're only getting paid a small amount. Price controls and I don't know why I have and. Price controls, I think it was supposed to be can create shortages or surpluses because it isn't the market controlling the prices. Sorry about that mistake there. If not price controls, then what do we use? So then what? If income is increased, there's no need for price controls. Labor unions can increase wages by collective bargaining, reducing the labor supply, and increasing a demand for labor. And then government regulations. So make companies take responsibility for negative externalities, and they also can prevent wage discrimination. Antitrust laws help to increase competition by protecting intellectual property. And producers make the decisions in this with certain things. I was gonna say with but I have to make sure I don't include price. They need to know their production costs. They need to know the materials in that the materials cost, which is variable. Building and machineries, which are a fixed cost. Labor, which is variable. And then under labor, we've got salary range for an accountant between 40 and 50,000 is an estimate. And commission is paid for a percentage of selling revenue. So you can see how there's a range for salary, and that's why I have that on there is the variable cost. It varies for each accountant where they work, where they live in the country. The pay is going to be different, and then how long they've been there. If they have more experience, they'll be paid a little more money. Commission is when you're selling houses or cars, you're not paid by the hour or a salary. You're paid by how much you sell. And producers make decisions again, still. Know the competition. Price setters are single sellers who produce a product with no close substitutes. Price takers sell identical products but with open entry and exit and competition, meaning that they can close or open their stores. Monopolies have no competition and their goal is to gain maximum profits. Price is set where marginal cost matches marginal revenues, and resources are wasted because they're not used efficiently. Sorry. And then setting prices. Producers charge more money. Charge more than the production cost of their goods in order to make a profit. So the producers set the cost, but then the market tells them where to put them after that. So for your essay questions in this unit, you're going to be looking at the one we discussed about the airline tickets. So the airline charges Justin $200 for a ticket. The airline charges Nathan $300 for a ticket on the same flight. Why is this a case of price discrimination? So most of the time, the way we buy tickets now is online or rarely over the phone. So it's not going to be because of race or gender or anything like that. It's going to be just because of the way that the flight is filling up. So price discrimination occurs when a producer sells identical goods or services to different buyers at different prices. In the example of the question above, An airline producer is offering the identical product, an airline ticket, to different buyers for different prices. And another essay question. So give two disadvantages of a tariff. Tariff reduces the level of competition, which is definitely a negative because competition is good for the consumer. This can mean higher prices, less variety of goods, and a poorer product quality. Imposing a tariff can also make other countries impose tariffs in retaliation. So I hope all of this helped you guys. I know a couple times I got on little tangents, so I apologize for that. Let me know if you have any questions, and after you've watched this, give me a call, give me a quick little review of it, and I'll give you credit for your live class. Good luck on your test.